This is You're Probably Right. Entertainment first, everything else is just bonus. Opinions, all ours. Sometimes backed by research, but never the final word. There are always exceptions, so take it with a grain of salt and a slight dusting of chili powder. If something in this episode resonates with you or you want to reach out directly, you can email the show at yprpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find the podcast on Facebook. Just search You're Probably Right podcast and the page should come up. And if you are listening somewhere other than Spotify, you can find the show there as well. Just search You're Probably Right and follow the podcast so new episodes show up automatically. All right, let's get into it.
How you doing? This is MCM, and you are listening to You're Probably Right podcast. This is officially episode 324, because I wasn't sure I was going to be calling this one 324, as many of you might know by now. Anyhow, that's what it is. And I'm so happy to be doing another episode of this podcast. I've said before that at one point I didn't think I was going to get beyond high 100s. I just didn't think it was going to happen because I thought that the podcast had run its course, as they say. But I was wrong, and it wouldn't be the first time. All right, so this is the third installment, although it's kind of the fourth. Doesn't really matter. It's episode 325, as I said. This one is titled What Healthy Love Feels Like After Pain. And it's going to answer the question, how do I recognize something better when it actually appears? Okay, I threw actually in there. When it appears. Okay, so welcome back. For those who have been at this place in the universe more than once, welcome to my first time listeners, my fair weather friends who pop in every once in a while to see how bad or how good I'm doing. Well, I'm doing fine in some respects, but aren't we all? As I've said many times before, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a Christian podcast, but it is a podcast by a Christian. So take from that what you will. And again, see, the first conversation in this series was about recognizing or recognition, how pain reshapes our love, how some people withdraw and some people control, how some people compensate and how some people lose themselves. Which one are you? Have you figured that out yet? If you haven't, you might want to go back to the first episode in the series. The second conversation was about healing. What it actually looks like to change those patterns that you've developed, probably to protect yourself, without becoming hard, reckless, or fake. You see, at the end of the day, wherever you are, you want to show up as you. Because when you start showing up in different places as some variation, some altered, edited version of yourself, you're never going to be fully comfortable. So I'm not saying that to bring out the very depth of your degenerativeness. I'm not saying anything like that at church or at your work, because you'll get looked at funny and you might get fired. But at the same time, maybe if you do have those characteristics that would bring that along in certain aspects, maybe you need to think about, the things you say and the things you do, and just bring it into the correct or proper environment for those things. But at the same time, remaining you everywhere you go. So then you don't have to wonder about what you said because you told little white lies, they say. You know what I mean? You don't have to remember the truth if it's the truth. And not necessarily you'll never forget anything. Obviously, you'll forget some stuff, but you won't you'll remember when you go back into your mind's eye about what exactly happened. It's either you're going to remember or you're not going to remember. It's not going to be you're going to remember what you said happened. You're going to just remember what happened. Hopefully that clears that up for you. Anyhow, and now we're going to get to the third question. Now, originally this was the last, but I figured, you know what? Because I am a Christian, I'm going to give it from that lens next. So there is going to be at least one more in this series. A question that almost always rises once people start to heal. It's like, okay, I got burnt. What did I do since I got burnt? And after you're healing, or once you heal, what are you doing next time so you don't get burnt, right? I guess. But it might not be really the exact thing, because this is where a lot of people get disoriented, actually. And I guess it's good that the question is kind of foggy, maybe in somebody's mind. You see, most people, when they get to this point, they can name the pattern. They can see the old wound. They can even start changing their behavior. But when someone healthier begins to appear, they don't always recognize it. Sometimes healthy love feels unfamiliar. Sometimes it feels quieter, boring, maybe. Sometimes it feels slower. Sometimes it feels less intoxicating than the chaos that we're used to and what we tend to call chemistry. And because it feels unfamiliar, people often mistrust it. They think, maybe this is boring. Maybe this is not deep enough. Maybe this person, doesn't care enough. Maybe I don't feel enough. Maybe something's missing. Sometimes something is missing, but sometimes what is missing isn't actually love. Sometimes what is missing is drama, uncertainty, emotional whiplash, adrenaline, the old pain pattern beginning to activate. And that is a very important distinction. So this episode is about learning to tell the difference between peace and numbness, steadiness and boredom, safety and lack of chemistry, healthy pacing and emotional unavailability, real love and familiar pain. Because after pain, one of the hardest things in the world is not just healing, it's recognizing what is healthy when it finally arrives. Let me start with, again, a sentence. Healthy love often feels less dramatic than unhealed love. It doesn't make it smaller or insignificant. It often makes it just truer, which is, I think, what we want. And if a person has been shaped by inconsistency, anxiety, emotional distance, overfunctioning, control, or self-loss, true love may not feel thrilling at first. It may feel strange. Not because it's wrong, because it doesn't match the old nervous system. And that is where we begin. why healthy love can feel unfamiliar. A lot of people think they will instantly recognize healthy love when it appears, and some do. Not many, but some do. But often we don't. Why? Because the body remembers what the mind says it no longer wants. Sorry, guys, I gotta raise this up. Making noise in your ears, probably. All right, that's better. A person may say they want peace, but if they've been trained by unpredictability, peace may feel empty at first. A person may say they want honesty, but if they're used to mixed signals, honesty may feel too straightforward and suspiciously simple. A person may say they want consistency, but if they've learned to equate longing with love, consistency may not trigger those same emotional rush feelings. See, this matters because familiarity is power. People don't only bond with what is good for them, they often bond with what they feel they know. And what feels known is not always what is healthy, right? So if you're used to a crazy nut who's puts his hands on you, or if you're used to a woman who is spicy and throws kitchen plates across the kitchen, you know what I mean? Then when a person shows up and when they get upset or they get excited or whatever it is, and they don't do those things that you're used to, maybe in the last relationship or the last all relationships, then something's gonna 100% feel off. And as I said before, what feels known is not always healthy. So one of the first truths of healing is this: familiar does not always mean right. Unfamiliar does not always mean wrong. The sentence can save people years of wasted time. Because after pain, a healthier relationship or a healthier relationship may not produce the same spikes, the same dread, the same anxiousness, the same obsession, the same volatility, the same emotional gambling. It may feel less like a storm. And if a person has spent years mistaking storms for depth, they may not know what to do with calm. So before I talk about healthy love and what it feels like, let me say what it often doesn't feel like. It does not usually feel like constant confusion, constant guessing, constant proving, constant chasing, constant shape shifting, and constant threat. You see, healthy love may challenge you, it may expose you, it may require honesty and courage. But one good thing is, it doesn't usually keep you permanently disoriented, and that's a major clue. Healthy love feels safer, but it's not always easy. Let's make an important distinction. Healthy love is not always easy. It can still bring up fear. It can still activate old wounds. It can still ask you to be vulnerable, and it can still force you to grow. But there's a difference between love that challenges you and love that destabilizes you. And that is a serious distinction. Healthy love may stretch you. Unhealthy love often scrambles you out of whack. Healthy love may expose your fear. Unhealthy love often organizes itself around the fear. Healthy love may ask for maturity. Unhealthy love often keeps you stuck in emotional survival mode. No place for growing. So when I say healthy love feels safer, I don't mean it feels effortless. I mean the relationship itself is not constantly adding threat to your nervous system. You're not always asking, where do I stand? What are we? Where are we going? Are they pulling away? Did I do something wrong? Do I need to earn something back? Should I speak or disappear? Are they real or am I being slowly abandoned? That kind of constant internal static is not a sign of deep love. It certainly is stressful. It often is a sign that safety is missing. Healthy love doesn't remove discomfort that you go through. There are growing pains, of course, right? But it changes the nature of that discomfort. The discomfort in healthy love often sounds like, this is hard to say, but I can still say it. This scares me, but I don't feel like I'm going to be punished, or I don't feel punished just for being real. I feel exposed, but not played with. I feel challenged, but not emotionally thrown around. And that is different. A person can still feel vulnerable in a healthy relationship, but vulnerability is not the same as feeling unstable. Let me get very practical now. What does healthy love feel like after pain? It often feels like these 6 things. Okay, number 1, it feels clearer. Not always simpler, but clearer. You don't need to, or you don't have to decode every interaction and wonder after, like go over the text or go over the message or just go over it in your head. You don't have to interpret the silence like a detective. You don't have to build a whole emotional theory because someone will not speak plainly to you. There is enough clarity that you can stand somewhere real. You may still have questions, but you're not feeling like you're living in a maze. Which way is up, And that matters big time. Because pain-shaped love often creates obsession through ambiguity. Sorry about that, guys. Get some more water. Healthy love does not need confusion to stay alive. A simple test is this: can I understand what is happening here without having to guess all the time? If the answer is no, then that's important. Number 2, it feels steadier. It's not perfect most of the time, but it's steadier. The connection does not constantly swing between intensity and distance. You're not being pulled close and then pushed away in a rhythm that keeps you emotionally dizzy and upset. There is enough consistency that your nervous system does not have to keep restarting from zero. Healthy love does not mean constant intensity. It means enough reliability that you are not always bracing for impact of the next shift. Number 3, it feels more mutual, right? Maybe something you're not used to. Maybe you're used to doing everything. You're not carrying the whole emotional load alone. You're not the only one initiating, the only one adjusting, the only one rescuing, the only one decoding, the only one softening, the only one repairing, and the only one holding the structure of the bond together. There is reciprocity. Care flows both ways. Effort flows both ways. Emotional responsibility, yes, it flows both ways. I mean, it may not be equal every second, so remember that. But it is recognizably shared. That matters because many people confuse being needed with being loved. And if, someone's always needy, then they're always trying to do more for you. You got something twisted there as well. It's not only when you're doing everything. Healthy love does not require one person to do all the carrying to keep the bond alive. 4, it feels more truthful. Healthy love can withstand reality. You can say what is true. You can name wherever it is. Maybe you're discomforted, you're uneasy. You can talk about it. You can ask questions. You can bring up the rupture or what there's so maybe there's a little gulf in between you guys' opinions, or maybe just you're feeling one way and they're feeling one way and there's a little bit of a divide. You can bring it up and say, we need to patch this up. I think we can, and we can have disagreements, but we don't want to have things just sitting there in between us. You can disagree, as I was saying, without the whole bond becoming unlivable. You ever been in a relationship where you're with someone, or maybe you're the person who the next the next slip up, the next mistake, and we're done. Right. That's not this. Because many people have been in pain-shaped relationships, and they're always editing themselves. Someone's always editing themselves. They can't fully come out with it, because if they do, they're going to get slapped down quick, fast, in a hurry. They'll be on the couch or out of the house. Editing tone, editing needs, editing truth, editing selfhood. Healthy love has enough room for reality on all sides. Not endless aggression, not reckless bluntness. Reality, not you're an idiot. You know where you're wrong here? It's a big difference from somebody just calling you an idiot. There is room for the truth without the relationship collapsing every time honesty enters the room. Where you can't tell somebody that they're wrong. They just refuse to hear it. They'll be like, well, wait, you didn't let me finish. You didn't let me say all there is to say. They need to explain everything away. They can't just, or you can't just allow something to sit uneasy, unwrapped up and tied with a perfect bow. There can be some imperfections within your conversations that you can actually leave alone without wondering if it's going to destroy the whole relationship. Number 5, It feels less performative. You don't have to constantly audition. Nobody's auditioning regularly. You don't have to remain endlessly useful, always accessible. I've been in relationships before where you are scared to have your phone on silent at work, because I've been with people before that if the phone is silent and you don't answer, you don't pick up within a certain amount of time, then it's like the relationship is over. And come home, you're going to be talking to yourself all night because the person doesn't want to talk to you because they assume you're off doing some nonsense, or because you were ignoring them on purpose and trying to ruin their day, when really what it was you were actually focused on a task, a noble task at that. So, as I said, you don't have to remain, when it's healthy, you don't have to remain endlessly useful, desirable, easy, or impressive in order to, you know, keep your place. You don't have to go to sleep and then wake up early to put on your makeup before he wakes up, right? Put on your fake hair or whatever it is you got going. That's not part of it. Or you always have to have a certain dress on, or, makeup, or you always got to have your shoes with the lifts in them so it makes you over 6 feet tall or something. You're not safe only when you're adding value. That doesn't mean there is no effort and that effort disappears. It means your existence is not treated like a contract you have to maintain at a certain level. And that doesn't mean, of course, you're in a relationship and you're keeping everything tight, and then all of a sudden, boom, within 6 months, you're weighing an extra 60 pounds because I got you. Not like that. And that matters, of course, especially for people who are always trying to compensate for something, always uneasy. You can relax a little bit. Healthy love lets them discover something difficult and beautiful. I can be loved where I'm not performing. Imagine that. That is profound healing for a lot of people. You can just chill out and be yourself. And number 6, it feels more like selfhood in contact. You don't have to disappear to stay close. You can remain recognizably yourself while loving someone. You still know what you feel. You still know what you want, and you still know what matters to you. And that is one of the cleanest signs of healthy love. You are in connection, but you are not vanishing. You are influenced, but not scared. You are bonded, but still intact. That is maturity. What healthy love does not require from you. Sometimes it helps people more to hear what healthy love doesn't ask you to do, so that you can know when it's not healthy love. Simply, healthy love does not require you to constantly prove your worth. Healthy love does not constantly earn reassurance, constantly guess where you stand, constantly keep you with your pain hidden, constantly stay on edge or over adapt, constantly carry the relationship alone. Constantly manage the other person's inconsistency. constantly abandon yourself just to keep the peace. That doesn't mean healthy love requires nothing at all. I mean, most importantly, it requires you to be honest. It requires patience, maturity, repair when things go wrong, boundaries, humility, accountability. But it doesn't require you to be, in a state of permanent self-betrayal all the time, just to please the other person so they'll leave you alone or they won't give you that look like you crapped yourself in bed or something. And that, I guess, is the line. Not that one, but you know what I mean. Let me say this clearly. Healthy love may ask you to grow, but it will never, never, ever, 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 ever ask you to disappear and not have an opinion. That is one of the clearest distinctions in this whole series. You're not disappearing. Now, you may have to fall back. If you have two people and let's say they're deciding that they're going to do things in their relationship God's way, you have your opinion. They have their opinion. But when you go to God and what his word says, both of you take a back seat to what the word of God says. See, there's the difference. But who you are, what you think, how you feel, what you desire doesn't just poof and disappear like you're the scum of the earth. And this is one of the most important parts of the talk, because once people start healing, right, they often say something like, this person is kind, this person is steady, clear, and emotionally available, but I don't feel the same intensity that I felt with Johnny over here. That happens a lot. Now, sometimes that means there is no real romantic fit. That is possible. But sometimes what is happening is something way deeper. The nervous system is no longer being whipped into constant activation. So the person mistakes the absence of panic for the absence of passion. That is very common. If someone learned to associate love with pursuit and uncertainty and hot and cold dynamics and behaviors, constant guessing and fear of losing them and emotional spikes, then peace may not feel like chemistry at first. It may feel flat, not because peace is empty, but because the body is used to adrenaline. That doesn't mean that every calm relationship is right for you, but it does mean this. People will have a personality and it will be something that bodes well with your personality. It won't mean that they're dry, and if you love to laugh, they never want to laugh and everything they want to do has to be serious, or you like to be serious and laugh and this person only wants to joke about everything. It does mean this as well. You should be very careful not to call peace boring just because chaos is what is familiar to you. And that is a serious mistake. People make it all the time. Now, let me add some nuance to this whole thing. Let me just move this thing for a second. Sorry. I can move this file. It's kind of cool that we have these these electronic file things that we can move things around a little bit. Cool. Cool beans. Cool beans. All right. Peace is not numbness. Boredom is not regulation. Healthy love does not mean zero aliveness. It could and should still include attraction, yes, warmth, movement, curiosity, desire, play, and growth. But those things do not have to arrive wrapped in confusion to be real. That is the distinction. So, a good question is not, do I feel the old intensity? A better question is, can I feel alive here without becoming totally dysregulated, discombobulated? It sounds so much better, I would say. This is another place people get confused. Sometimes people try to heal and swing too far toward anything that feels calm. But calm is not always healthy. Sometimes a person is not safe. They are just emotionally absent. Sometimes a relationship is not peaceful. Sometimes it's dead. So let's make the distinction. Healthy love feels calm and connected. See that? Not calm and unreachable. Healthy love feels steady and responsive. Not steady because nothing real is ever being risked. Healthy love feels grounded and alive, not flat, numb, avoidant, or emotionally vacant. So ask, is this calmness coming from maturity and steadiness, or is it coming from emotional distance? Can truth enter here? Can need enter here? Can vulnerability enter here? Can repair happen here? If the answer is no, then what you're calling peace may actually be avoidance. And that matters because some people flee pain and end up choosing deadness, thinking, I have healthy love. Health is not deadness, obviously. Health is regulated by living, by aliveness. Regulated aliveness. Not chaos, not numbness, a real bond with enough space, enough safety, and honesty and emotional presence to let two people be alive inside at the same time. What healthy conflict feels like. And this matters, of course, because at some point you're going to get into some sort of a conflict with the person. It's just a matter of time and how many times, right? Healthy love does not feel or does not act in conflict free, because then if it does, then somebody's not being real, because you're not always going to agree. But is repair capable? And that's the difference. In unhealthy love, right? Conflict often becomes withdrawal, stonewalling, punishment, power games, panic, who's right, who's wrong, humility, escalation, or emotional disappearance. In healthy love, conflict can still hurt, right? But it remains workable. People stay in the room more. They don't run out and slam the door, never come back for a day. Truth remains speakable. Repair remains possible. The disagreement does not instantly become a threat to the entire bond. And that's huge. If you've been around a person, you guys are as thick as thieves when everything is perfect. But if you tick them off now, all of a sudden they go quiet on you and they don't want to hear anything from you. You might have sent them a nice, wonderful message, text or voice, and then because they're angry at you in healthy love, they'll get back at you. Unhealthy love, they'll just leave you hanging for days. They're just like, well, okay, well, you know what? I have cut you out of my life for this amount of time. I want vengeance, and vengeance is mine. Yeah, that's a whole different situation there. Because many people never learn that conflict can happen without the whole relationship entering survival mode. So just because you're in an argument, you have to understand you're in an argument or you're in disagreement or you have a conflict going, but it doesn't mean that somebody is leaving the relationship. It just means that somebody needs to bridge the gap and enter trying to fix it. And hopefully, if both of you can do it at the same time, that's even better. Healthy conflict sounds like, I didn't like that, but I can tell you. Or, we are off right now, but I don't feel like the bond has been abandoned. This is hard, but we're both still here. I can be upset without losing myself. We can repair this. That is secure functioning, not the absence of rupture, the presence of repair. So if someone asks what healthy love feels like after pain, one good answer is this: it feels like conflict does not automatically mean collapse. And that's a major sign. Once people begin to heal, right, they also have to learn to choose differently. You might not be able to choose somebody just because of their body or because of how much they make. Because insight without different selection often becomes repetition with better vocabulary. So, what does choosing different actually mean, you might say? How does this person affect me? Not how intense is this, not how badly do I want this, not how much chemistry is there. Those things matter, but they are not enough. The better question is, do I feel clearer or confused? More grounded or more destabilized? More honest or more edited? More like myself or less like myself? More invited into truth or more pressured into performing? More secure over time or more preoccupied over time? Those are the better questions. Because healthy love choice is not only about who excites you, it's about who the relationship lets you be or lets you become. And that is one of the deepest truths in this whole series. A relationship is not only something you feel, it is something you become inside. That is why selection matters so much. So after pain, better choosing often means learning not to be seduced by inconsistency and mystery, performative charm and emotional volatility, or the old familiar ache of trying to win love from someone who keeps withholding it from you, like a game of 3-card Monte or something. That may feel powerful, but it's not always wise. And yes, the green flags. People always talk about red flags. Let's talk about green flags that matter after pain. The deepest green flags are not always flashy, they are often simple. Clarity is a green flag. Consistency, responsiveness, emotional honesty, repair, humility, warmth without games, boundaries without cruelty, care without control, presence without engulfment, interest without performance, and freedom to be real. Let me say a few more words. A green flag is someone who does not make honesty expensive. A green flag is someone whose steadiness does not depend on your constant proving your worth. A green flag is someone who can hear discomfort without turning it into punishment. A green flag is someone who becomes clearer over time, not more confused or more confusing. A green flag is someone around whom you do not have to keep shrinking and managing and guessing or earning. Because healthy love after pain is often recognized less by fireworks and more by gradual reductions of distortion. You start feeling less scrambled, less edited, less panicked, less performative, less alone inside the bond. That is a clue. So let's bring it inward, as someone said once. What does healthier love actually feel like inside? It often feels like this. I can breathe. I don't have to guess all the time. I can tell the truth without immediate punishment. I don't have to keep earning my place. I'm not constantly trying to decode their bond, their mood. I still have self in the relationship. I feel calmer over time, not more fragmented. I can miss the person without being destroyed by uncertainty. Who are they with? What are they doing? I can be disappointed without immediately collapsing into panic. I can care deeply without abandoning myself. That is a real shift. Not no fear, not no tenderness, but more steadiness, more truth, more room, more integrity. And if you have lived with pain shaped life and relationships for a long time, that may feel suspicious at first, but that's okay. Healing includes learning how to trust what does not immediately resemble the past and what you would normally trust. And the final inward question. So if the first talk asked, what pattern am I in? And the second, what am I practicing instead? Then the third talk says, what kind of love lets me become more honest, more grounded, more real, more whole over time? That is the question now, not who do I want? But what kind of relationship makes truth easier, selfhood stronger, and love less distorted? That is the mature question. And it changes everything. Because once you stop choosing only by intensity, charm, chemistry, familiarity, and start choosing by effect, clarity, reciprocity, repair, and selfhood in context, you stop calling old pain love so quickly. And that is where discernment becomes real. All right, let me shut this one down. So let me bring this series to an almost ending, at least from a certain aspect. Pain can reshape love. Healing can interrupt the pattern, but after that, you still have to learn to recognize what healthy love looks like when it appears. And healthy love often looks less dramatic than pain-shaped love. It may be steadier, clearer, more mutual, more truthful, less performative, more spacious, more real. That doesn't make it less deep. It often makes it deep in a way that pain never could. The point is not to become impossible to be hurt. The point is to become honest enough, healed enough, and discern enough that you stop confusing chaos with chemistry, distance with maturity, performance with devotion, and self-erasure with love. Healthy love is not perfect, but it does not require you to become less and less real in order to keep it. It gives you room to stay human, stay connected, and stay you. Stay yourself. And for many people, that is the first time love has felt good and safe and alive all at the same time. And that's the work. And that is the hope. And that is what what becomes possible when old pain stops writing the rule. You don't have to call the familiar healthy. You don't have to call the intense true. You don't have to keep mistaking old pain for destiny. The pattern may be old, but your future does not have to keep obeying it. All right, guys, that's it for today. As we got three done, 3 under our belt, technically 4, because we did one just to name the 10 patterns. And we're going to go somewhere else next time. Anyhow, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for being my friend. Thanks for allowing me to be your friend. Remember, for entertainment purposes only, take care of yourself. Peace out. Hey, come check out You Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 ducks. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.